Now here we are with the big pick segment. All right. So if you want to give us an update on the leaderboard, you could go ahead and do that,
Wow, way to throw it to me. I appreciate that. Allen, 138 and 83, 62% overall. If I said 52 in the break, I'm sorry. It's actually 62%. And he is number one in the league right now with those picks. I'm not too far behind at 127 and 94. That's 57%. So let's get us started here. The way we do it, we start with ACC games, and then we go through to ranked versus ranked games, and then we finish we finish it up for the night with talking about the Clemson versus Wofford game. And our pick, not going to be much, I don't think, for that game, but we're going to talk about it a little bit, and then we're going to go into our show. So let's start off with 12 p.m. game in the ACC. NC State, 4-3 NC State versus number 23 Wake Forest, 6-1. That's at Winston-Salem, North Carolina. Wake right now, I've got at -7.5.
Okay. So, I mean, both teams had a bye week last week, to prepare for this Titanic grudge match that we have going on this weekend. Wake Forest really needs this win so they can be ranked when they come to Death Valley. Obviously, they're going to have to win this one and the next one. I'm taking the Demon Deacons to cover this -7.5. NC State, like I said, is just not a good football team. They got blown out by BC a couple weeks ago. It's just not good. So I'm taking Wake and their offense to kind of take it to them in Winston-Salem.
Yeah, I'm going to pick Wake Forest as well. I want to see a ranked matchup against Clemson, and I feel like the FPI right now is 74.1% Wake Forest winning. I think anytime you get into conference games and it's road games, it's very difficult to win road games in November and October. Next game is another 12 p.m. game, and that is Boston College going to Syracuse. We talked about this a little bit earlier on in our Clemson versus Boston College recap, but it's going to be in the Carrier Dome. Syracuse right now is -2.5. They are the favorite, which kind of made me scratch my head because I feel like Boston College is the better team in this situation.
Yeah, I don't necessarily disagree. Obviously, Syracuse is kind of that team everybody likes to pick that, think they're going to be better than they usually are. Syracuse has been a really disappointing team this year. A lot of people had some relatively high hopes for them. So this is one of those games I really could not decide what to do with. So I'm thinking, most people are going to kind of have the same dilemma that I'm at and not really sure which one to take. Jason Priester, if you want to pick up a point, go opposite of me on this game because I really wasn't sure what to do. Syracuse allows 160 yards a game rushing, and that's all BC does. So I think BC is going to kind of be able to run the ball against a bad Syracuse team, control the clock. I'm going to take BC to cover the spread.
Yeah, I'm actually going with BC on this too. This is not one that's a favorite to pick either in the betting odds or on ESPN's FPI index. So, but I am going to go against that. I feel like Boston College has that ability to control a game against a team like Syracuse, and give me 2.5 points on that. Right now, again, I'll let you know this is a Monday night show, so any of our point spreads are going to be from Monday night, and they could update as we go. So if you're watching this Wednesday or replay or on the Roar Thursday night, our spread picks could be a little bit different. Just a disclaimer there. Next game is a 2:30 p.m. game. That's a kind of an interesting time for a game, but yeah. It's Virginia Tech 5-2 Virginia Tech versus number 16 Notre Dame 5-2 as well. That's at Notre Dame. Notre Dame is -17 right now, or 17.5 depending on where you look. What you got there?
Yeah, I'm not sure how Virginia Tech is 5-2. I mean, it seems like every time I turn around, they're playing some nobody team really close or getting blown out by somebody like Duke or something like that. It's another week of football, another week me picking against the Hokies. They had a bye week to prepare. Notre Dame just came off a shellacking at the hands of Michigan. So there's a lot out there in the college football world that says take the Hokies here, but I can't do it. Give me the Fighting Irish -17.
I think it's hard to win any road games, especially this is kind of like a conference game a little bit, but Notre Dame's going to be very upset after losing that game, getting just trounced over in Michigan, and I think they're going to come back mad and upset and ready to prove themselves against Virginia Tech, who, like I said, they have a good record, but we really don't know why. But I think Notre Dame is going to capitalize, and I would take Notre Dame minus the points on that situation. Here's one that's really tough for me, Al. Those teams in Florida, a 3:30 game, Miami, 4-4 Miami versus 4-4 Florida State at Doak Campbell Stadium. Right now, Florida State is the favorite, -4. What you got?
-4. Florida State is -4. Wow. Okay. When I looked up earlier today, they were -6.5. So obviously Vegas knows something. If the line came out that early and it's already jumped that much, they know something. But I don't always agree with what Vegas says, and that usually bites me. The Hurricanes this year are quite possibly on one of the biggest roller coasters that I've ever seen, especially in the Coastal Division. 2 weeks ago they lost at home in overtime to one of the worst teams in the ACC, maybe the worst team in the ACC, which is Georgia Tech. And then Saturday they beat what may have been or still is the leading contender in the Coastal in Pittsburgh. That's a jumbled mess for the Coastal Division. I think everybody's kind of vying at 2 losses, or Miami may have 3, something like that. I think it's time for them to dive back to the bottom of that coaster. I'm taking the Noles minus the points.
I hate to say it, but I'm also taking Florida State as well. They're predicted to win in the ESPN FPI, and I think that when it comes to, again, it's going to be like on repeat. Conference road games, very difficult to win. I think Miami runs out of their luck or whatever they do. This is not a Coastal matchup, so there's no need for them to screw it up. They're just going to lose. And so I think Florida State wins that. Give me Florida State minus the points. Next up is that team that you talked about. Actually, the two teams that you talked about. The Pittsburgh, who was at once thought to be the front runner for the Coastal, and then Georgia Tech is definitely probably the worst team in the ACC. 5-3 Pittsburgh versus a 2-5 Georgia Tech. That's at Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta. Who do you got there?
Look, I mean, the Pittsburgh Panthers, they're fighting with the Virginia Cavaliers, the North Carolina Tar Heels, Virginia Tech Hokies, and the Miami Hurricanes to kind of see who can give away the Coastal crown. Every week they try to give it to the other teams, but nobody can just grab a hold of it and take it. So I'm going to say the Panthers win big on Saturday to kind of prove they're still mediocre enough to win the division. I'm taking Pittsburgh minus the points.
Yeah, I've got to take Pittsburgh against Georgia Tech. I really don't. I previously said, 2 weeks ago, that Georgia Tech would never win a game again this year, and then they somehow beat Miami in overtime. I know that that's weird to say. It was definitely an upset of the century for ACC team. I think that Georgia Tech is going to get back on track of losing games, and I think they're going to lose this game against Pittsburgh. 5-3 Virginia is traveling to Chapel Hill. 4-4 North Carolina. What you got there? North Carolina, as it's showing right now, is -1.5.
-1.5. Okay, look, going into the beginning of the season, UVA was kind of the leading contender in the Coastal. Everybody kind of thought they were going to have a good season, possibly, a 10-win season or something like that. I guess maybe that's still on the table for them. But much like the Pittsburgh Panthers, they're doing everything they can to kind of give other teams a chance. However, I'm going to take Virginia to get back on track and take down the Hills. Give me Virginia plus the points.
I'm going against you on this one. I think I'm going with my road game, analysis there, my road game theory that is going to be difficult. Virginia, the reason why I thought of this road game theory is because of Virginia. They went to Louisville and lost. They have lost almost all of their road games this year. I think this is going to continue to be that way, and I look for Mac Brown to take the Tar Heels to win against Virginia, take over that top spot in the Coastal Division, and I look for him to dance in the locker room. Moving on to ranked versus ranked games. We got 2 ranked versus ranked. There's really only one that is interesting. I think most people won't think this one is interesting, but let's start with number 15, SMU, Southern Methodist, at number 24, Memphis. Right now, Memphis is giving I got -3 or -6.
-3 or -6?
Depending on where you look. You got ESPN's -6. Yahoo says -3.
Well, I'm going to assume -3 because that's what I had written down, and that's a huge jump. Look, plain and simple, I know nothing about this game. I'm going to have to ask some of our resident experts to kind of get in. Al and David, kind of give us your thoughts on this. Jason, if you're over on YouTube, kind of get in and give us your thoughts because I'd really like to make a pick. So if you could do that really fast, that would be great. I just think I heard something about maybe game day possibly being at Memphis for this. I'm not really sure if that's the case or not, but I'm going to give the Tigers the edge as another unbeaten goes down. Memphis covers the spread here, -3.
Memphis is the favorite, and it is a away game, and I will say that I'm going to go against it on this case. I'm going to pick SMU because I love Shane Buechele. I think he's a great quarterback, and I hate that he didn't work out at Texas because, man, he could sling it all over the field. I like what he's doing over in SMU. Right now, 2,325 yards passing with 20 touchdowns. Man, he's having himself a season. And then the last ranked versus ranked, this one is the one I think most people are going to be concerned with, and that is Number 8 Georgia at number 6 Florida. Not really at, because they are in Jacksonville, but de facto at 6-1 Georgia versus a 7-1 Florida. The world's largest cocktail party. Nobody says that anymore, but that's what it used to be called. Right now, I got a disparity too. I've got ESPN showing -6, Yahoo showing 3.5 for Georgia, -6 or -3.5.
Wow, I prefer to take the 6 in this one, but I'm going to take the 3.5 because that's what I saw earlier as well. Look, this is the game to decide the SEC East after it was discovered just how much of a fraud Missouri was last week. I talked a few weeks ago about Missouri maybe backing their way into kind of the SEC East championship there, but goodness gracious, after losses to Vandy and Kentucky, there's no recovering from that, I don't believe. It's just, I think it proves just what a fraud their schedule was to begin with, for sure. They kind of inflated their numbers against some bad teams. But, I think this is a huge game. I think Florida ruins UGA's chances of getting back into the playoff picture here. Give me the Gators plus 3.5.
I can't go with my road team losing theory in this one because it's a neutral site game. So I'm going to go with who has the best rushing defense. And Georgia really right now has the best rushing defense. They're only allowing 10.6 points per game and 85.7 rushing yards per game. I believe that Georgia gets on track. They're 60% chance of winning right now. I think they keep that ball rolling, and their one-loss SEC East team. As much as I would love to say Florida wins, I don't see it. I think Georgia is going to continue their push towards getting to that SEC championship game. And that finishes up our ranked versus ranked and our ACC matchups. But we got one left, Al, and that is Clemson versus Wofford, not Wake Forest. Clemson versus Wofford. Wofford's coming to town, and right now it looks like it's off over on ESPN. And I don't see any reason why it wouldn't be off. But Wofford, again, is a 5-2 overall. Let me give you some stats for you from Wofford. They have beat Virginia Military Institute, Weber, and Eastern Tennessee State, Western Carolina, and looks like University of Tennessee, Chattanooga. They're on a 5-game winning streak right now, Al. But Clemson is a 99.7% chance of winning. Do you think that 3% chance or that 0.3% chance could happen?
No, plain and simple. No, absolutely not. Somewhere I saw where Clemson was minus 47 points in this game. Obviously, I think most places are going to have it off. Look, there's not really much to say here. I think Clemson's going to dominate this game. Wofford is just kind of overmatched in this case. They don't have any wins against big teams. I think they're going to kind of run into the new Clemson offense, as we've seen this past week, kind of kick it into high gear. Brent Venables may kind of, concoct a scheme, and the, third string is going to kind of give up a field goal late. Right now, I'm having Clemson winning the game, and if 47 is truly the spread, I'm going to have them cover as well. My score prediction: Clemson 52, Wofford 3.
Well, I would never pick like 40-something point spread in a real game, but in this game, I would definitely say that they're not a team that should hang with Clemson at all. I don't see them even having a chance to score. If Clemson plays the way they've been playing, they should just completely dominate. So any point spread is a winner for me with Clemson. But I hope it's off, because you don't want to see some like 50-point spread. It's just ridiculous at that point. Just do a straight up winner. We are now a podcast. So everywhere you can get your podcast, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, anywhere you really go to get your podcast, we are there. So check us out there if you just want to listen to the audio version of the show. We appreciate the support as always. Again, it's our bedtime, Al. We hope that you have a good rest of the week. We hope you enjoy what's coming up this weekend with college football. We hope we all enjoy another Clemson win. And Tiger fans, remember, we'll see you at the top of the hill.